Hi, my name's Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is the 10th session of Fate of the Fairy Queen, a reskin of Fate of Cthulhu from Evil Hat Games. Um, the characters are well on their way to a final confrontation with the evil queen of the realm of Faerie, and we'll see how they progress with that today. The series was organized as part of the Gauntlet gaming calendar, and if you're not familiar, the Gauntlet is an online community that plays and organizes and talks about a whole lot of role-playing games, especially Indian story games. And you can find out more or come play with us. Check out gauntlet-rpg.com or at gauntletrpg on Twitter. We also, at the end of March, have Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend coming up, which is designed to make it easier for newer players to get involved or try out a game with us and see if you want to get involved. So check that out. Going to ask my players to introduce themselves and their characters now. So just your and your character's names and pronouns and anything else you want to tell us about yourself. Jose, could I get you to go first this week, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Jose, and I use he and him pronouns. And I'm playing Dr. C, who also uses he and him pronouns. He's a psychiatrist from present day New York City who has been recruited to this grand cause of rewriting the timeline and saving the world from the evil fairy queen, and is very committed now after all these adventures that he's had with his comrades. So much so that he stepped into Faerie with all of them last week. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Matt?
My name's Matt. I use any pronouns. I'm playing Shanad, also known as Bear, who uses he, him pronouns, who was mysteriously absent last week because someone in an alternate timeline was very sick in another universe. So I've yet to find out exactly what's going on, but I'm sure Bear will feel, if not at home, relatively comfortable in Faerie, and it will set to some of his old ways that he had been trying to forget about.
Cool, thanks. And Matt, you also would have been up for an advance last week from finishing the previous event. Have you taken an advance, or do you want to do that now?
I will do that now. I'm just going to look at some skills.
Yeah, of course. Just let us know what you end up deciding on. Kyle?
Kyle, he, they. I'm playing Maeve, the changeling infiltrator. She, her.
Thank you. And Lowell?
Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and I'm playing Fadim Bekara, she, her, who this is not exactly the choice that she wanted to do, go into the Faerie, but she has gone in, and there will be consequences. So there we are.
All right. So before we start, just remember we are using a set of safety tools today. If you need to use any of those, refresh your fate points at the start of the session. So if your fate points are below your refresh value, then reset them. You're going to clear any stress from the previous sessions. That always happens at the end of a scene. And Maeve and Fadim, I think that you're both going to clear a moderate consequence because it's been a full session since you started recovering them. I don't think anyone else had any consequences to clear, so if you do, we can work that out as well.
I think Matt's enchantment should clear too, because he's had like 4 sessions and he hasn't done anything nasty enchanting wise.
Okay, good call. Thanks. So a little recap for Matt in particular. The group came to Mills Creek in West Virginia looking for a feared servant of the Queen called the Huntsman. They found him disguised as a human in a truck stop just outside of town, and they defeated him, they killed him, and then realized that he wasn't their real enemy, that he was there to try and protect the Queen's daughter, previously unknown to you, her illegitimate daughter, who the Huntsman had hidden on Earth because the Queen wanted her dead. Her name is Eileen. She's very beautiful, But until last session, she just thought she was a human girl running away from her small town, and she's a bit overwhelmed by subsequent events. The wild hunt came for her, some sort of creepy, evil, scary fae. But Dr. C was able to get her to safety, and Maeve and Fadim managed to cover their escape with a large fireball at the petrol station. A pretty impressive climactic moment. The Owl's Head Devil turned up, and it turned out to be the father of this illegitimate Fae princess, who was kind of in disguise, hiding out in exile. And he gave his life to buy the characters enough time to get the princess, not exactly to safety, but through a portal to Faerie, where they hope to use her sort of potential claim to the throne to stir up rebellion against the Faerie Queen. That is pretty much my summary of the last session. Any questions or anything anyone wants to add?
Such drama. I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
What was the huntsman's supposed relationship to the princess? Like, what was he, like a father figure type?
Not really. It's just like the
Just a
Snow
guardian?
White story that, the queen ordered him to take her out and kill her. He couldn't bring himself to kill this innocent child, so he pretended and just wanted to protect her.
Okay. So away she goes.
I burned
And
through all of my fate points to kill him. All of them. And then in the immediate aftermath, learned that I had made the wrong choice. And then the real bad guys came and the GM refreshed all of their fate points. It was painful and delicious.
well, a notch on your belt, Fadim, legendary killer. My other question is, what does the princess want? Like, if we're using her claim to the throne as leverage, is she on board? Is she leading that, or is she kind of like, I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that where we left it is that she's pretty overwhelmed by what's happening. She never thought about being any kind of ruler before. But she has that like there's something in her blood. She has that fairy tale royal quality. And she's certainly not, like, she's not leading the way, but she's also not at all opposed to the idea that she might have a claim to the fairy throne.
Some Miriam vibes here. Great.
All right. So we're going to pick the story up. We talked about this a little over email, but we're going to pick up a year and a day after you arrived in Faerie. And in that time, you've certainly learned that time passes differently here, that when you eventually return to Earth, to the mortal plane, however much time has passed in Faerie, you'll be there in time for the preordained rise of the Faerie Queen. So that's not a concern. I'm going to start by asking each of you to tell me about something that's happened in the last year, an obstacle, a challenge, and how you overcame it. And we'll start with Dr. C and we'll go across. Just want to say a few things about this before you jump in. You could do these as a vignette. You can just describe what happened, or we can play out a scene. That's fine. I'm going to try and keep each of them to one dice roll rather than like a full conflict or anything like that. So I encourage you to play to your strengths here. Tell us something that makes your character look cool. If you want to draw on your best skill, that probably makes sense. If you're involving other PCs in your narration, please check in with the player. I'm sure you'd all do that anyway. You have very broad authority to go wild here. You can do something small if that's what you want, but you don't need to worry about whether something is too much. Make it as big as you want. You also have a lot of authority to build some of the fiction here. I think the only things we've really established about Faerie are that there are mountains and goblins. There's presumably a palace where the queen lives. Other than that, you're welcome to create as much detail as you want about the world, the history, the magic, like whatever. that's all up for grabs as well. If there are Fae tropes that you've been wanting to see in the game, this is a good chance to introduce them. There are 2 specific limits on the authority that I'm giving you there. So one is you can't have defeated the Queen. Like that one's kind of a no-brainer, right? Like we're not going to just jump to the end of the campaign in this time skip. You can have, you can have her embattled, besieged, like, weakened. All that stuff is fine, but she is still going to be a power that you have to deal with. And the second is that you still have not defeated the Wild Hunt. So you can narrate how you outwitted or escaped them, any kind of temporary defeat or victory, but they're still out there. They're still coming for you. That's still the event that we're playing out. And that brings me to, sorry, I'll stop talking in just a sec. The mechanics for this. Gonna run this as a challenge. So whatever you tell me you've done, you're gonna make an overcome roll using a relevant skill. And we're not deciding there whether you succeed or not at what you're doing specifically, because you're describing a success that you've had. The challenge is whether you're successfully eluding the Wild Hunt or not. So 3 successes from the group overall will be an overall success in this challenge. That means that when the Wild Hunt comes, you'll have time to prepare, to create advantages, all that good stuff. If you fail in the challenge, if the group doesn't collectively achieve 3 successes, then I will have the Wild Hunt attack at the worst possible moment that I can find during this session. So those are the stakes for the challenge. Does that all make sense? Any questions about any of that? All right. Well, Dr. C, tell us about something that happened in your year in Faerie.
Wow. Those instructions are daunting. All right, let's see. So I think Dr. C was up to a particular kind of mischief in Faerie during this year and a day. And that is sowing dissent among the Fae toward the Queen, which is the overall purpose that they have here, in addition to instating the princess. But he's a wanted man. And there's a bounty on his head in the Wild Hunt, although they don't quite have his smell. His scent, he's definitely on their radar. So I'm imagining that he got some kind of trinket from maybe the Goblin King that has a glamour on it that allows him to disguise himself. And the disguise, I imagine, is Dr. C can take on kind of an expression of his anima or his female side, either a maiden, a mother, or a crone. And he uses that disguise to go through Faerie, and using his superpowers of I am totally harmless.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no problem here. And
great.
Also his disturbingly insightfulness in order to make people sow doubt or disloyalty or anger. And, the Fae are, they're afraid of the Queen, but they are fundamentally an anarchic people, and he's kind of capitalizing on that. So whether I imagine a montage where you see him, I don't know, as a maiden, like waltzing with some highbrow Fae in the Sealy court, and whispering poison into his ear, and then maybe as a mother in a forest, speaking to a solitary dryad about the Queen's degradation of the forest, and then maybe as a crone talking to a cat on a windowsill in a little village. And you always know it's Dr. C because he still has the dark hair and that little white streak that he developed in his last confrontation with the Queen. In terms of a challenge, I think maybe the Wild Hunt catches up with him at some point, or maybe some part of the Wild Hunt. He has a close call with them. Mm-hmm. I'm imagining a scene maybe at the Goblin Market, and maybe, I don't know, maybe if Maeve is interested in being there, that would make sense that we were there together, doing the same kind of stuff there. just seeming unobtrusive, but actually trying to sow as much dissatisfaction with the queen as we possibly can. And I don't know if we could play a scene, or I could just narrate something with the hunt. I don't know what's best. But that's what's coming out of me right now.
I mean, I'm loving the story that you're telling, so I'd encourage you just to keep going and tell us how you eluded the hunt. What happened?
Okay. So I can imagine, let's see, that Maeve and I are separated in the goblin market, and I am in the shape of the crone, maybe, and I'm haggling with a goblin for some trinket, and the goblin wants something, and then I'm looking over my shoulder, and I see in the shadows. Oh wait, you know what? I just realized something. Hold on, 1 second. I prepared for this. A little bit, anyways.
Hey!
Maybe on the goblin market. I imagine in the shadows seeing one of those. It's the hounds, right? Are like have they're like somehow human hounds.
They were human once, yeah.
Grotesque. They were human once, but now they're some kind of grotesque. I can see them peering, these like red eyes peering out from the shadows from toward me, and I realize that the gig is up. But I know that there are rules in the goblin market for you can't basically have violence. There are old contracts and laws that make it that don't just bargains. Everyone has to behave. But I'm afraid that I need to get out of the line of sight of this guy, and so I can imagine some kind of signal to Maeve, who's maybe across the way, that we've been spotted, and I'm going to bolt. Very nimble for an old crone, across some tables, pushing down some stalls, and there's like just basically a chase scene through the goblin market that I think could be fun. Ducking under tents and caravans and coming through strange, bargains in the middle of bargains, and disrupting them as the hound is on my tail, and some final improbable escape down a rabbit hole of some sort, and that I've somehow gotten away from the hunt, but just barely.
Nice.
One more day that he sees in one piece.
Cool. That was awesome. So what skill do you want to roll with here? Is the challenge, do you want to make an athletics overcome action about getting away? Or is the real challenge the descent that you've been sowing through Faerie?
I think the big picture is the descent that
Yeah.
I've been sowing, and I think I'm using that my feet really. I'm using both feet really, but I think the one that's the most relevant probably is that disturbingly insightful, that I can somehow provoke people's darker emotions.
Yeah. I think like it's probably a difficulty opposition 4 roll to overcome.
Okay.
Sowing descent, like you say, they're scared of the queen, but they're not in their hearts truly loyal.
No, they're not loyal creatures. All right, let's find. So I guess let me just reread that thing. I'm just using empathy. Okay.
Yeah, just roll with empathy. That's fine.
All right. Okay. I think I rolled. Oh, and I didn't put any fudge dice in. Okay, here we go. One more time. Well, I got a 2, but I can use a fate point, right?
A fate point will bring you to a tie, but you actually need a success. You need 3 successes overall for the group.
Okay. Um, why don't I go ahead and use a couple of? Well, let me see if I have. We don't have any aspects on the table right now, right? For this scene.
So
Right.
I mean, you still have one from last week that I haven't cleared because it does still seem relevant, which is you're not a threat aspect with a free invoke.
Okay.
I can see that makes
That was
sense. Yeah.
part of the trip, yeah. That I'm appearing to not be a threat while I'm doing this evil thing. So I'll use that one, and maybe I'll use. Oh, wait a second. Let me see if I could do. Would the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Since I'm trying to convince them all to
Yeah,
become the enemy of the queen.
totally.
All right, so that would be. So that would put me up to success.
And I noticed that we have the resistance track full at the moment, so I'm just going to clear that and put
Okay.
a ripple in favor of the resistance. And then you'll add one.
All right.
Cool. Thank you very much.
With me.
Bear, I don't know if you want to narrate a separate entrance to Faerie, if you were just hanging around with these people and we didn't really pay much attention to what you were doing last week, like whatever's good for you. I'll also mention that I've put a few sessions back, you created an advantage of Thorn's loyalties being in doubt. And since we're in Faerie, I've popped that one on our list of scene aspects if you do want to draw on it at all.
Thank you. I think that I will I was forestalled somewhere in Virginia. Maybe I had planned to meet with the Owl's Head Devil or something in advance. So, but I found a separate way into Faerie, I think, deep in the wilds of West Virginia. And I think what I would like to narrate is Bear meeting the princess and noting the fact that she is sort of trying to prepare herself for a life that she knows nothing about. And Bear has spent a lot of time at the front lines speaking with Fae, hearing the stories of their homelands, while maybe never having stayed there for very long himself. I think he's walked through a few gates in his time. And he's heard a lot of stories and a lot of legends of this place. And I think that he would like to go and ask the princess if she would like to accompany him on a journey through Faerie to find a legendary place that he's only heard of in tales, but he believes exists. This is partially to acquire resources for the resistance, but primarily, I think the heart of it is to build rapport with the princess and to teach her things of her homeland, even though he doesn't know them firsthand as much, but he wants to prepare her for the challenges ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have a particular legendary place that you're looking for in mind, or?
I have an idea.
Yeah, tell us.
So I think they set off, and I think Bear is stocked up head to toe with tillhulls and protective charms and everything he's going to need to get through the wilds and escape all of the different seelie and unseelie things that may accost them, and to teach her about the kind of protections that mortals will use against her. But I think where they're headed is to a mountain. Legend has it that there is a hollowed out mountain kingdom and of an ancient people that was transported into Faerie. I think a bargain from a general of a large army went bad or something, and he lost his entire force and his entire fortune that was inside of this hollowed out mountain fortress. And no one has been able to access it because it's been sealed off to all but those with royal fairy blood. And so she's sort of the key to accessing this place. Theoretically, that's how the legend goes. So long journey, lots of mucking through swamps, and I think there's like water horses that tempt them into the lakes, and there's banshees, and there's all sorts of wicked things. And we get some montages of the princess sort of learning the perils of her own kingdom, and also learning how to navigate it, what to eat, what not to eat, most of it, although she is from this place. And I think they arrive, and there's a big waterfall that seems like it's the entrance, and they go up there and they start speaking keywords, and they're just trying everything they can think of. They camp out at the base of the mountain. She walks through the waterfall dozens of times. They don't know what they're going to do to get in, and I think when Bear is sleeping, the princess wanders off and finds a tunnel that leads into an entry hall in the mountain. And what she finds there is that the floor is white and black checkered, and there's all these marble pillars that are covered in dust but inlaid with like glimmering stones. And I think that there's a chessboard, a giant chessboard, HP style. And I think that rather than it just being her royal blood that allows her to solve it, she has to use like tactics in this like ancient fairy game in order to defeat the spirits guarding this place, so that it will open and they can make their way inside. So I don't know. I think that's the tale of the journey. But that's I think at the heart of it, it's and maybe they're able to get into this place and there's all sorts of wealth and riches, or maybe there's just lots of like weapons and armor and stuff like that. I don't know. I was just thinking giving some fictional positioning to the eventual warring that they may have to do.
Love that.
But I think what I'd like to roll is to bond with the princess over this long journey.
Okay. Using empathy.
I was thinking rapport.
Oh yeah, rapport, but rapport is definitely the right call. Yeah.
Rapport is the right call. Sweet.
Yeah. I think maybe just difficulty too.
Okay.
She's receptive. She's interested in what you have to tell her about this place.
So I will, if you want to adjust the difficulty, I will say my goal is to bond with her, but also to sort of instill within her a sense of her own destiny and her own power. And like, I want to like inspire her and empower her to take the place of her mother.
She's going from like this strange young girl from West Virginia to the queen in waiting. That's what I get.
I think at the start of the journey, there's a lot of like head scratching and like, oh boy.
I think still a difficulty too.
Cool.
Like you say, that is her destiny, really.
Mm-hmm. All right, here goes.
All right, that's 2 successes. One more will put you well ahead of the wild hunt. So thank you very much. Maeve, tell us about what you've done over the year in Faerie.
I think I spent the year just infiltrating the manors, I guess, castles, whatever they are, of the Fae, like making contacts among the servants, sort of building a spy network.
Nice. That's awesome. So what skill do you see rolling for that?
Deceive.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And a network of spies. I think maybe difficulty 4.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Huh.
So that's a tie. So you'll need to use an aspect to make it a success, or you can just let it sit there, and we'll see whether Fadim can bring you up to an overall success.
I'll spend a fate point on my infiltrator aspect to build the spy network.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. So that's a success. So that's a success on the challenge overall, which takes some pressure off Fadim. Do you want to tell us, like, can we have a name or a description for the sort of leader of your spy network, like the person you rely on the most?
Sure. Tammy?
Tammy.
Just the first phrase, the name to come to mind.
All right. And Tammy's what, like a butler or head maid or something like that, or?
Head maid sounds good.
Cool. Nice. All right. Thank you very much. And Fadim, what have you done over your year in Faerie?
So there are a couple of things. One of them is kind of a echo contrast to what Bear has done, in that Fadim is very concerned that the princess still remembers that she's a human being as well. And I do think that there's times when she comes back from these trips of wonder and fairy and so on, that I'm talking to her like an older sister, talking to her like a mother at times, and trying to keep her centered there. But then I think sort of the contrast to that, what I am doing is I go to people like the Goblin King and others to convince them that the princess's power and has force behind her, and that in each of these places I have to go and fight something to prove, and it's like a series of those things where they put like a battle task in front of me, and I go and do it, and I get injured, and I come back and I do it. And I imagine like the last one is me going to some of the fae that are sometimes forgotten, going to before some Jineri, so a female Jinn at the city of Brass, to speak to her about what's coming, and that they have to do this, and being set to another task to go into a crystal cavern and fight a dragon, and go and do that kind of thing again, and it's exhausting. And I think one of the things we see throughout the time here, the thing that Fadim is being very careful not to let anyone else know, is that I do think that her trouble aspect has changed from allergic to magic to dying, because I think being here in Fae is killing her.
Oh my.
And I think there comes a point at which she realizes that, like, she's crossed that threshold. Like, there's no coming back from being here. When she goes back to the real world, she will have very little time left before she's just going to die from what was already killing her. But she's not, it's that TV thing where you see somebody cough a little bit of blood and oh my God, they're about to die. It's very much that kind of narrative drama. But I think my sort of task is the last, like this crystal cavern, walking down in to fight the dragon, kind of exhausted from having to go and do these things, and that it is very much just a fight.
Does Fadim like have a sword now, or is she going into fight the dragon barehanded?
I think she's got a sword, and I think that she draws the sword when she goes to fight, whereas she would normally be barefisted, but fight is melee here too. So she goes in, she has a battered set of armor, probably the armor that appeared on her when they entered into Fae. That's dented and rusted. Actually, she has a sword, but she's not using the sword. She's using what was once a green axe of the Green Knight, but I think now it's become reddish and coppery with blood,
Amazing.
both her own and that of the people that she's killed.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think with that legendary axe, it's probably difficulty 4 to kill the dragon. Opposition 4.
All right, and I just had the roller up. How do I always do this?
Draw a
Come
link.
on. There we go. No, I've got it. It just always forget. All right. 4 dice. Fate +4.
Nice. All right.
So that is a 5.
Cool. So you know that the wild hunt is still coming for you, but you're going to get, you're going to get word. You have a spy network now. They're not going to be able to sneak up on you unexpectedly. So that's awesome. So fictionally, you have allies all across Faerie. You've raised dissent amongst the common people. They're ready for change. You have a network of spies in the manor house of the elite of Fae society. You have an heir ready to take the throne. You have an army ready to wage war. So I think that, there must be some sort of council of war, right? You bring together these various leaders and powers that you've managed to convince that you can really do this, and you have some sort of meeting. Maybe deep in those goblin mines where it's harder for you to be seen, and everyone is looking to the 4 of you to decide, what the strategy will be when it's time to go to battle. And before the council can really begin, Maeve, Tammy comes to report to you, and she says that she's sorry to tell you, but the Queen has been on a rampage through the capital. She's killing everyone that she suspects, even the mildest suspicion that they might be supporting the 4 of you, or the 5 of you, she probably says now with the princess. But she has a message as well. She wants to talk to you. She wants to reach a settlement to avoid a pointless war that will only result in innocent death. And she proposes that there is a place in Faerie, and this is all stuff that you can verify easily, where treaties are traditionally negotiated, where no harm can come to parties on their way to negotiate or during negotiations. The safe place where fairies have always settled their great differences. Once it's over the grave of her husband Oberon, where she killed him and left him to lie, and his magic protects those who bargain there. And she invites the 4 of you to send back a message and tell her when, and she'll come and speak to you, and maybe we can avoid unnecessary bloodshed. So that's the message. What do you do?
So this is a trap, right?
Not necessarily.
We've negotiated with her before. We know how this goes. If she wanted to avoid bloodshed, she wouldn't be massacring her own people in her capital.
Is it a sign of weakness that she is approaching us in this way? Why not? If she's killing the Fae indiscriminately, that plays into our hand, doesn't it? The more she does that, the more the people will turn against her.
And the Goblin King will pipe up at that, unless you're having this conversation in private.
Oh no, I think that's a great to have some of those allies there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll say that the Queen has always relied on fear. It's the only thing she knows. If she's threatened, then she will use fear and violence to try and strengthen her claim.
But she can't really harm us directly if we go to this parley.
That's true.
Historically.
Historically. You don't sound certain, Fadim.
The Goblin King looks appalled at that and says, listen, the fairy, you think that we're all these wild anarchic creatures, but this is a
Oh.
world bound by law. She would not
no.
dare to break that law.
I do not say that she would dare to break the law, but it is, she is a queen of loopholes and legalisms, and if she's found some way around this, but I don't know. I think this decision has to be, in the end, yours, princess. I mean, we can speak around this. I do think that this is a bad idea. But it is, but I have made bad choices in my life.
Well, she takes that in. She says, thank you, Fadim. Well, I would like to hear from each of you before I make a final decision. Dr. Cifuentes, what do you think?
If we go, she will attempt to threaten us, which isn't usually effective, but she will definitely have temptations also up her sleeve. Something to get us to back down from our mission here. Do we want to even hear those? And to what end? On the other hand, we could learn something new here from a direct parley with her.
I mean, I am conscious that, I mean, to an extent, she speaks the truth. I know, of course, that we can't trust her and that she twists the truth to her own ends. But many of my people will die if a war breaks out. If there's a way to avoid that, then I'm inclined to seek it out.
We could set preconditions for the negotiation, which is another possibility. Counter offer. But you're right. We don't want people needlessly to die at her hands, or have already started dying. If we can reach some kind of agreement that is amenable for the fairy, but also for our world, which is also at risk.
I mean,
which is our main mission at the moment.
I mean, you make a good point. If we're going to go and negotiate with her, we should have a negotiating position. What would we ask of her? To surrender and leave your world alone? I hardly see her accepting those terms.
We are in an unprecedented position, knowing the dark future that awaits us. Not only knowing it, but having witnessed it, having seen it. We know what she will do. And we know what she is capable of. And we know that if we come to her and make agreements, set conditions, that she will find ways around them to achieve her dark future. Now, if we could meet with her and use this opportunity as some sort of political advantage, leverage, say words near her advisors and her supporters, that would be something. But I mislike simply giving her another chance to to sow discord and to play her fear games that she loves so much. She is as she will always be. And I don't think a few words will change that.
And Maeve, what have you?
Well, I mean, if she's to be to believe, we'll know exactly where she'll be at a certain time, which seems like a great time to hit her at home or somewhere else.
The magic of that place would probably prevent that. Is that not right?
No, I mean, if she shows up in person to the meeting, then we can burn her house down while she's not there.
Oh, I see.
The Goblin King will warn you that sort of to affront their laws in that way would risk the support that you've roused amongst the people of Faerie.
What can we hope to achieve from this negotiation is the question I have. She is not stepping down from the throne. She is not giving up her her possible reign of terror on Earth. What could she offer us that's even close to what we really want?
Shadim, I see that you want to say something, but maybe you're muted.
She has temptations. She will present those temptations. You have already all said that. She will pause the bloodshed for appearances. She wishes this gambit to give her the leverage that she thinks she can overcome us with this. I think this meeting itself is the temptation, and that there's worse to come.
Then you're saying that it's war to the death against my own mother, who I've never met.
I say it's us standing in the way of a war which has already happened and has already killed more than have died yet or will die in this. We are from that future. And there will be people who will be killed, like Bear's family and friends. And there will be people who will go along with the Fairy Queen and kill others at her behest, like me. That we have to stop this. We have to stand strong on this.
The princess takes that in, and she sort of steps back, so she's addressing the room, all of you and the gathered nobles. And she says, for most of my life, I was a simple small town girl. I haven't yet learned the great arts of oratory that befit my birthright, my destiny. But while it grieves me terribly to think that those loyal to me face death, terrible griefs, you have persuaded me that there is no choice but to wage an unrelenting war against my mother. Gather your forces. We ride at dawn. And let's take a break here. And we'll come back and see how the war plays out.
Oof.
In about 10 minutes.
Tyler and Patrick. I was playing with them last night, and they just got a new, like 4 or 5 months kitten that would like showed up on their mom's doorstep, and this kitten was all over them all night, like climbing up and wanting to be held, and then it would vanish from Patrick and it would appear in Tyler's area, and it was pretty cute.
Nice. So everyone good to continue? All right. So just before we continue, I just wanted to go back to our lines and veils for a second, because I'm conscious that war has been on people's actual minds recently, and probably when we filled out our lines and veils, nobody was really expecting that we would be playing out an actual war in this game. So just take a second to think about if you want to adjust or add anything in terms of lines and veils. During the break, I've put, I think, war crimes and atrocities as a veil. My feeling is that I'm okay. Like, that stuff probably happens in this story, but there's no reason that I need to focus on it. But if anyone else wants to think about adding anything, or if you'd like me to pause the recording, if there's anything that you're not comfortable talking about on the recording, I can do that as well. Just let me know in chat. And otherwise, just give me an indication verbally or in chat if you're happy to continue. All right, so everyone's happy with that, so we'll keep going. So I think that we're going to pick up again a year and a day since the princess gave the order to go to war, and the war has raged. So all of you have seen battle. There have been terrible massacres and atrocities, including those by forces loyal to the princess. The war continues. At different times, the advantage seems to shift in different directions, but so far, no decisive advantage has emerged. Stepping back from that big picture for a second, I want to find out something about Bear and Dr. C, because the last time the two of you as players were together, you shared your first kiss. And then a lot of time has gone by, and Bear, you still have the aspect in love with a fairy enforcer, and you're in Faerie now. So, I mean, a question first for Bear, like, what's happening? Where are your affections now?
I guess it's something that, I think that he still is in love. But I think that I don't know if it's his trouble now, because I do think it's something that he has some closure with, as like a love that he has, but that is not exactly a part of his world. But it could be a trouble now that they're in Faerie, actually. I think that it is. I think that, like, when Bear's like ready to leave and rejoin the mortal world, if that is a thing that happens, I think that he will be able to like lay this behind him. But I think maybe it's been troubling him these months, and I think him and Dr. C have been like sort of on, but I think there's definitely still something lurking. There are still feelings.
Dr. C, is that also how you see the relationship?
Yeah, I think Dr. C totally went into it with his eyes open. That Shanad was still had strong feelings for Thorn. He just wasn't willing to wait in terms of his own feelings. So I think Dr. C is a pragmatist. in this matter of the heart at the moment, and is enjoying Bear as much as he possibly can, knowing that there's some part of his heart that's still knowing full well, that there's some part of his heart that still is engaged with Thorn and still is unresolved around that. But I can imagine them having a good time together and having a lot of laughs in the midst of this chaotic war and the atrocities that are unfolding around them.
I think it is a good time, but I think Bear is a little more aloof. I think he's got more wanderlust. He's got a little less of his regular humor. I think he reverts back to the version of him that we didn't really see a lot of, but we see in flashbacks at the end of the 10 years, grizzled, haggard, commander of troops, constantly on guard about fairy tricks and things like that. So you definitely don't have the best of him. And so there are fleeting moments for sure.
Yeah, and I think the fairy is also probably affecting Dr. C. And I can imagine that Dr. C is getting more puckish and more quixotic the more he's exposed to fairy, and a little bit less predictable, or a lot less predictable in the interim. So as Bear gets sterner and more martial and more regimented, Dr. C leans into the fool a bit more.
Well, that's interesting, considering the next question that I was going to ask you, because you're a talented psychiatrist. I'm sure that at some point you realize that something's up with Fadim, and that you think that you realize that she knows that she's dying, or that she'll be dying if she returns to the mortal world. Do you, how do you react to that realization?
So I think Dr. C would actually, be very saddened by that, but not really understand what's going on exactly. Knowing that something's up, and knowing that Fadim is not the talkative type, he might not approach her directly to talk about this. But there's also a feeling, I think it's since the donkey ears incident, or the donkey head incident, a feeling of carpe diem with particularly with relationships, and that's what made him kiss Bear in the end. And I think it may be what's the way he would respond is by trying to spend a lot more time with Fadim while he can, but not confront her around her mortality, or the fact that she looks like shit. My God. There's no point in doing that. Yeah, I think there's a true affection for Fadim, and a true sadness that she seems to be wasting away.
And Fadim, how do you respond to this, sort of more sincere affection from Dr. C? You're muted. Well,
Take a drink. So I think that she is weirdly trying to center Dr. C back to, the one thing that she needs is she needs Dr. C to be a psychiatrist, because she doesn't want this to break the princess. She doesn't want the princess to suffer the horrors and the guilt and all of this that she's suffered, or the rage that ate away at her so much. She doesn't want that for the princess. And she wants Dr. C to talk to her, to be there, to tell Fadim what to say, to help. That she's, because this princess is the age that Fadim was when all of this went down. And it's her in some ways, and she doesn't want the princess to end up like she does, like she has.
Yeah, I can imagine Dr. C really seeing how much meaning Fadim is getting out of this identificatory love with the princess, and this guiding kind of presence with the princess. And so, yeah, he's gonna. I guess he plays the Cyrano to to her mothering of the princess. We already established that Dr. C was the fairy godmother, but he's going to be the fairy godmother in the background.
And I think there is a point at which, like Fadim says, I grew up with a big family, and I thought I knew everything. And when I was old enough, I left that family and I traveled and I followed my path, becoming a fighter, training in the MMA and such. And you and the others are the closest thing I have to a family, because I regret giving them up. So just understand that. You get that? Get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
We have
All
an
right.
adopted daughter now too.
Okay. Right. Just want you to, yeah.
We're good.
Okay, we're good.
All right. And Maeve, a message comes to you one day through your spy network. And Tammy, I think at this point she tells you that it's become clear that the Queen has figured out someone in the network and is using that to pass messages to you. And Tammy, warns you to, be conscious of that. To, the messages coming through now may be influenced by what the Queen knows. But what she has to tell you is that the Queen is telling her most powerful allies in the capital city that she no longer believes that she can win the ground war in the sense of defeating the forces that are massed against her. But she also doesn't believe that they can defeat her, because by fairy tradition, the new queen would have to confront the old queen face to face in the palace. And the moment the princess sets foot inside the capital city, the wild hunt will destroy her. So this is what the Queen is relying on now. She feels that once the supposed heir to the throne is destroyed, that the forces arrayed against her will collapse, because there'll be no alternative. They'll have to back down. They'll have to accept her rule. And so what Tammy thinks is that as long as the Wild Hunt are out there, there's no way for you to successfully conclude the war. And certainly there's rumors as well that the Queen is still open to meeting to negotiate if that's what you want. But this is what she says is her plan, or her final gambit, or her next gambit, perhaps not final.
I tell that to the group and say, so it looks like we have to take out the hunt.
Can you repeat it? It's if the princess steps foot in the capital, then the hunt will have her killed.
The hunt will destroy her. Yeah. They've been, and throughout this period, they've been close to her a few times. That's their nature, is to keep going until they destroy the person that they've been set upon, and they won't rest until the princess is gone. And the princess, sort of taking that in, says, "Well, it's clear how we draw them out, isn't it?"
We use a decoy.
She looks at you skeptically.
I volunteer.
I mean, the hunt's probably after most of us.
If we can raise a glamour powerful enough. We have the books to do that, to echo the princess, since we have her here. And you take on that guise, Dr. C. We can make a go of it. But that's magic, and that's not my strong suit. But I do think we have to, one way or another,
Deal
we
with
have
that.
to face the wild hunt. It may be the death of us, but we have to.
So, I mean, certainly you could find a spell that would let you create a glamour powerful enough to deceive the wild hunt. I think the opposition to cast that spell is going to be +6. They are, they're hunters. They are not easily deceived.
Mhm. Well, it's
The princess says she's not scared. She can do this. She has faith in the 4 of you.
well, there's no point in putting the princess in danger if we don't need to. So I can attempt the spell.
I'd rather use the magic as a last resort.
The first resort.
Bear.
Are you just prompting him for an idea?
I just heard him say something, and I thought, Bear, did you want to say something about our plan? You've been so quiet.
Well, I don't like that it's my princess walking into the city. The wild hunt's known to be lethal. And we'll be inside enemy lines with a very powerful force on top of us.
We don't have to go to the city. Wild hunt searches.
You can
We
draw
can
them
do
out.
this at a place of our choosing. But we're in a land of stories and lore. And if this is to be the turning point, it may be that she needs to be with us. And now that I think about this, but also I think I say this, try to say this to the quietly to the group rather than having her maybe hear this. I say, if we go without her and we die, the guilt that she will suffer, that if she's to be the queen, I don't want her to do this, but I at the same time I don't know.
But if we go with her and we all die, then our cause is lost completely. Failure is failure.
Can we have safeguards? Some way to transport her out if all else goes wrong?
We have the horns. Baba Yaga's horns.
If half of us fall, the others must use the horns.
Now, do you wish for her to be undisguised?
Now, I think we disguise her, but they'd still be following the scent. I think we still have Dr. C at least basically guised as the princess, and we guise the princess as one of the company.
I think the princess is capable of many things that she is yet to come into. Little hints of things that I saw on our journey. And for now, I think she should wear the armor that she earned alongside the other soldiers.
And I think we get a shot of her standing tall in the armor, swinging the sword through the air, gleaming white. And she says, I don't know why you're all so glum. When the last of my people hear that I've faced the wild hunt and yet live, surely the last doubters will realize the truth of my destiny.
Now that's the spirit.
Looking like a queen.
It's my girl. Now, go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just gonna chew the scenery.
Chew away. Where will you fight? Like, you can draw them out somewhere. Like, do you want to? I mean, we're going to be like setting up a scene here, so we're talking about zones and aspects. Where will you face them? We want a scene in the mountains, in a forest, a city, a ballroom.
We haven't done a forest scene yet, have we? Oh, yes, I guess we have.
I like the mountain scene if we go to her father's place of power.
The Owl's Head Devils?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have to lure them there.
Eerie.
The Erie. Love that.
Erie, Indiana, or Erie, Pennsylvania?
So tell me about what we see in the Erie. Like, what are some aspects just in terms of what the setting is like? Well, they don't have to be aspects, just some description. Are we talking about like an old cobwebbed abandoned site?
I'll give mine. Like, I imagine there is a plateau, but then there are those kind of like terraced mountain cliffs that are around. So there is a little bit of sort of verticality above and around. But probably, where his cabin was, you can go outside and look at the vista from there. I think that's where we. That's the first piece I imagine.
All right. So I've popped that onto the Faerie tab in the Keeper as 3 zones: the Erie Plateau, the Terraced Cliffs, and the Devil's Cabin. And I would love to get some more description of each of those, put at least one aspect on each of them. Does anyone want to? So my first question is, has the cabin sat empty since the Owl's Head Devil left, or is someone else been living there? Does anyone want to answer that one?
I think the little ghosts of all the mice that the Owl's Head Devil pooped out are all taking care of the place now. And so they keep it nice and clean and scrubbed down. They all carry some little bit of the Owl's Head Devil magic with them.
All right, so I've put that in as the aspect of the ghosts of countless tiny mice. I heard cleaning supplies, so I'm going to add that as an aspect as well for the cabin. Is there anything on the plateau apart from the cabin itself? Matt or Kyle?
Just the cabin sounds good to me. Though we might want to stock up, make some aspects about, like, I don't know, preparing resources.
Yeah, we'll let you do that in a sec. Just wanted to set the scene first.
It's the Erie Plateau. I think there's a lot of like petrified trees that are kind of like grown up, gnarled around. Many of them do have like strange birds nesting in them that have calls that sound like crystals. And
all right, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's spider webs.
All right. And I mean, the terraced cliffs seems pretty self-explanatory and evocative to me. Does anyone have an extra aspect they want to tack onto the terraced cliffs?
Shouldn't there be good places for a sniper to set up shop there on the terrace cliffs?
I'd like to put like twisting spires or something. Like if we're in Faerie, I'd like to think that the stone is like they're cliffs that start growing off in like strange directions, almost like branches. And then there's like some of them have like spiraled steps that you can kind of reach up to the top of them, but they look like all these like creepy twisted fingers that are stretching up out of the cliff tops.
All right. That's cool. So I've put twisting spires, and I think, like some dark cave mouths or something like that, like Dr. C suggested for snipers would be cool. All right. So that describes the setting and the situation. Maeve, you mentioned setting some things up to get ready for the wild hunt. What do you do to prepare for them?
Well, I guess how obvious of a trap do we want to go? I mean, if we have to hide it a little bit, or else that they won't show up, right?
I mean, they're going to come for the princess. If they think she's here, they're going to come.
It worked so well last time. Just lots of gasoline. Just
All right. Well, I think that might be a roll to create an advantage with resources. Or is there another skill that you'd like to use for it?
no, I still never actually put a point into that. So
Yeah, the group is not strong on resources. I mean, I think that it will be a low difficulty. Maybe gasoline to me is not so fairy, but certainly like flammable substances would be pretty easy to come by. You can try rolling it just at a +2 opposition to beat.
all right, I'll give it a shot.
Cool.
No.
Are you interested in spending a fate point?
I don't like my odds. I think I'll just take a loss here or fail.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go around and ask you each if there's anything that you do to prepare for the wild hunt coming. I think that with the failure on to create an advantage, so the aspect is still going to be there. There just won't be any free invokes attached. So if anybody wants to use these flammable substances, they're going to be on the table. Let's just go starting from Maeve then. So Fadim, do you want to do anything by way of creating an advantage or something like that?
I think there's a little bit of a maybe there's the sound of the A-Team music in the background where I am digging the pits and putting the spikes in and that kind of thing, and doing very basic stuff with crafts.
Yeah. So just trying to set some traps. I love it.
Yeah.
I reckon let's have difficulty 2 again.
Okay. So this +2. Oh, look at that. That's a 4.
Nice. So what do you want to call the aspect?
I do think it's just pit traps. I think that's the classic thing. Hoping to break their formation up a little.
Dr. C, what about you? What are you doing to prepare?
I think Dr. C will hit the lore books about the wild hunt to see if he can find something, any information that might give us a step up or a leg up or an advantage or a weakness that they might have.
Yeah, so I think the difficulty is 4 for that. It's pretty hard to come across information about the wild hunts, any weaknesses they might have. Go ahead and roll.
Would I be able to help, or would that take my action?
Yeah, I think like if you want to help, we'll call it that that's what you're doing in preparation, or if you want to have a separate step of your own.
I think I want to have a separate step.
Right.
Okay.
My princess is a wise man.
So I got a two, a -2. I hate -2.
One aspect will bring you up to a tie, which will get you a boost, I believe.
Or I could do a reroll, right?
Yep, you could try.
I have bad luck with rerolls, but got to break that streak sometime.
New session, new day.
I guess I'll just, let me see if I can tap something else. Hold on 1 second. I'll use the timeline aspect forewarned as forearmed, because that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And I should click that 1 second. Timeline track, clicking, and then go to my character sheet and take off a fate point, and then go to the dice roller and re-roll that die. Let's try this again. 5.
Nice. So that's a
Yeah.
success.
I broke my bad streak of re-rolls.
What is the aspect that you create then?
Let's see. The aspect will be.
Do you want to just call it their weakness, and it can emerge in play?
Okay, let's do it that way.
Cool.
Should I put it on the scene
I got
aspect? Okay.
All right. And Bear, what are you doing to prepare for the coming of the Wild Hunt?
So I heard the princess say that, like, I saw her in her armor saying, think of what they'll see, what they'll think of me when they hear that I faced down the Wild Hunt and escaped. I think that when the princess unlocked the riches of the lost peoples, I think that maybe there were the spirits of ancient soldiers that were then bound to her service, or at least for one sort of conflict, like they owed her for their freedom. So I think maybe we have some like suits of armor that are embodied by the spirits of these ancient like Atlantean soldiers or something. But I think I want to have her be the commander. Do you know what I mean? Like Shanad has some experience doing this stuff, but I want it to be her win so that she is like ready to ascend. Do you know what I mean? Like I can see it, but she just needs a little bit of concrete wins to get her there. So I think maybe we're finding places to station these troops like in the foothills or like advantageous places with high ground where we can have, I don't think it's a big force or anything. We'd march up here with an army or anything like that. But I think we're talking strategy. I don't know what skill is for that.
Let's have a look at our options. Anyone with a suggestion?
I could be investigating the battlefield. I could be working together with the princess.
Look, I buy that you can use law for this, your knowledge of fairy history and practices and things like that. Does that?
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm really relying on my knowledge of like fairy fighting tactics, because this is the Wild Hunt, this is a known warrior of the Fae, and so there's a lot of lore stuff involved here. And maybe there's some magics to these strange soldiers. So let's go. It's a 3.
All right. And what will you call the aspect that you create?
The high ground.
Is it just back up or the high ground? Cool.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking.
We are at the Erie after all. We have to have the highest ground.
Cool. All right. So I think that word comes back to you that this is the night that the Wild Hunt will attack. They'll come. That they'll come. Just before dawn, when you're the least rested. Are you staying up all night? Are you setting a watch? Are you going to get up early? Like, what is the plan? I mean, Fadim, I guess not the most military experience, but you're a fighter. What do you do?
I think I kind of go against like that. I want to kind of go against that discipline and training, and we talk and we relax and we share food and we maybe tell more like revised versions of the stories of our first three incidents, and just try to be comfortable with one another rather than hardened like steel.
Nice. Do any of you do something different? Do you all you're all there for this like scene of nice camaraderie?
Yeah, I think Bear is enjoying letting others tell the stories more than he does, and I think he's just making sure that the princess doesn't drink too much. But and I think he's sort of like maybe he's whittling, and we just see him like smiling quietly to himself, listening to Faerie be a lot more genial and open than she has been in some time.
Fadim, I think this will be our last thing that we do before the battle, but why don't you go ahead and roll to create an advantage using rapport to see if these stories like raise the morale in a tangible way. With a difficulty of 2, I think. All right.
So I will go ahead and I think that I'm going to spend a fate point. And I don't invoke the specific relationship aspect, but I think I invoke the idea of all of our relationship aspects across the board that we each have with one another. Like Dr. C's has Bear as a big teddy bear, and Fadim pokes the bear, and my vision of Maeve, like in the kind of more in the past, like I think that's what I'm invoking there to get that +2.
Nice. I buy that. And what will you call the aspect?
Before the storm.
Nice. All right. And I think that the stories are eventually interrupted. Maybe there's a quiet moment, and you smell you smell the same smell that you detected other times that the wild hunter appeared, and a portal starts to rattle open right there in the cabin with you, and you're ready for them when they come through. So just to reintroduce the wild hunt.
Oh yeah, you haven't heard about these horror shows.
So the Master of Hounds comes first. She has this kind of bloody white face that hangs in a void of darkness and wisps of hair, and just an enormous body that's corseted in chainmail. The hounds, there's a couple of them. They used to be human. Now they crawl on all fours, and they wear masks of dried and withered human skin with glowing red eyes. I think we established earlier. The chimney has a human body, but its neck sort of branches out into a series of little chimneys that belch smoke of different colors with noxious smells. The one they call Odin wears just a big hoop skirt kind of ball gown, but has 2 heads stacked one on top of the other that endlessly sing mournful songs. That's our wild hunt. I don't think. Let's add one more. So this time they come as well with the pig, who is strange and pig-like with this bright pink skin that's riddled with tumors and growths. And he looks like a human or a fairy maybe whose legs have been cut off, and instead from the waist down just has a pair of strange trotters that extend from deep cuts in the lower abdomen. So that's our wild hunt. And I mean, Fadim, it seems like you're normally first off the mark. Are you going to take the first turn here?
Yes, I am. And I think it is, because I'm first off the mark, I'm going to call my target, and I think it is that pale white sloshy face. I am just going in there with the axe.
All right.
Going to make them pay some points to keep themselves alive is my goal right now. So yeah, I will charge over with fight and swing the headsman's the axe of the Green Knight. And so that will be a 4 to start.
Right. So let's see. And to defend, we'll get it's a 5 to defend.
So I'll spend the before the storm to bump mine up to a 6.
All right. Oh, well, I don't know where to use my fate points. It's excruciating. I guess, yeah, they're motivated to win. I think that the Master of Hounds will. I don't think that they really have an aspect they can use. I think that she will spend a fate point and she'll invoke your aspect, dutiful in service. Like there's an echoing of the time when you were bound to the Fae, when you were loyal and obedient, and you feel that struggle inside you as you try and swing.
Then I will spend to 4 for the Shield Maiden to try and counter that.
All right, I'm going to save some fate points for the other players, so that will do it.
I'll just take the one. I'll just do the 1 point on this. I may come back later on at another end of this, but I just want to do it to make them spend their resources and to give that signal that the first thing out of the gate is I hit them.
Yeah, the Master of Hounds is bleeding. The hounds are barking and baying. Who do you pass the initiative to?
The Master of the Hounds.
Wow. She will, let's see, she's going to try and create an advantage using the hounds. And I think that you can probably defend this. So she's rolled a 4. Defend, I don't know what skill you would use to defend exactly. She's trying to get the hounds to sort of interfere, to attack you. Maybe fighting or athletics makes sense, or something else if you prefer.
I will take fighting because it is my strong suit.
Sure.
And I think it is that in this case that I am swinging that axe around, and it is still filled with the anger of the Green Knight, and
Nice.
and the blood of everything that I've killed in the last year and a day, and I will attempt to stop that. Oh, so that's going to be a 2. So they would create an advantage.
Yep.
If it ties, they would get a boost, right?
That's right.
So either way, yeah, let's let them to create the advantage.
All right.
I think they are surrounding me and nipping at my heels at that point.
So I think the advantage will be the hounds are biting. And then she will pass the initiative to the hounds. And all right, they will both attack you, Fadim.
Okay.
So what do they do? 5 plus 4. All right. The first one rolls to attack. It is a 3. I'm just going to roll both the attacks, and you can defend them with one roll. Does that make sense?
Yes. I also. Well, so I got the 3 defend against a 3 and a 6.
Yeah.
I also forgot that first shot I did would have actually +2 more because of my stunt.
All right. Well, in that case, you've done some like noticeable damage to the Master of Hounds. She's reeling a little.
So this is defend with fight against the 3.
Yeah, you can defend against the 3 and the 6. Okay. So that will put you, so they'll defend successfully against one and tie the other.
What does the tie give?
Yeah,
Does that give them a boost?
I think that's probably right. A tie to attack. Yeah, your attack doesn't manage to cause harm, but you get a boost.
Okay, I'll let him stand with the boost.
All right. Sorry, where am I?
That's me swinging around madly with this axe.
I'm going to call it the Hounds are close. That's their boost. They will pass the initiative, let's see, to... I think they're going to pass it to Maeve because they also have a thing about Maeve, right? Maeve, what will you do?
I'm gonna line up my shots to give myself an advantage to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are you setting up the shot on?
The huntsman, I think.
Sorry, the Master of Hounds.
Yes, sorry, that's who I meant. Yeah.
All right. So I'll let them roll to defend using athletics. But you go ahead and roll first.
4.
Nice. Let's see how the Master of Hounds does. All right, you create an advantage.
All right.
What do you want to call it? Just in your sights?
Yes.
All right. And who do you pass the initiative to?
Wow, there are a lot of them. I'll go with the pig.
All right, the pig. Who will the pig come for? So
You sound too delighted saying the pig.
I love it. I do love
it. Me too.
So I think that the pig will tear the little trotters out of the gashes in his abdomen and start wielding them like clubs as he comes forward. I guess he'll come for Maeve since Maeve just started lining up a shot. He's going to try and frustrate that. He's going to roll to attack. That's a 2. Do you want to roll to defend using athletics, Maeve?
Yes, that sounds good. Ugh, I never put points into that.
Or fight, if that's better.
Oh, that is 1 point better. So as soon as it actually rolls, okay, I'm gonna refresh my thing because it doesn't seem to be rolling. Oh, it rolled. I guess I gotta. It'd be a 2 with my +2.
I'm not. Yeah, that's strange. I'm not seeing it. So that's a tie. The pig will. Let's see. The pig will spend. We'll try and spend a fate point. The pig is going to invoke his weird, horrible little guy aspect to just be so, like, the way he's moving is so bizarre. Your attempt to dodge out of the way just isn't quite there. That puts him 2 points ahead again. So that will be 2 shifts of harm. You want to use a fate point, or are you going to take 2 harm?
I'll take the stress.
All right. Cool. And the pig will pass the initiative to. I think to Dr. C.
I think Dr. C is. I think he's going to use his stunt, the disturbingly insightful stunt. And I guess I'll roll and then I'll narrate it depending on if I succeed at the roll.
Well, tell us tell us a little about what you're thinking.
What I'm thinking is that somehow in the research that I did about the hunt, there was some little subtle clue that they might be terrified of mice. The dogs.
Amazing.
So the hounds, that's what they're called, right? Hounds. The hounds might be terrified of mice. So
yes.
So let's see if I just made that up or if that might be it.
So you're attacking using empathy, is that right?
Yeah, I used the empathy roll.
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Sweet.
Got the little spinning block.
Uh,
Spinning block, spinning block. Come on.
Hmm.
It's spinning.
maybe maybe we've rolled too many times for one roll with me room.
It's spinning. I don't know what to do. Should I refresh the page?
Give it a try.
Okay, let's
Um,
refresh the page. Dr. C. Oh no, it went through once I refreshed the page.
so I'm still not seeing
Me neither.
what's.
Okay.
What
Well,
was the roll?
it was a -3, which makes it a 1.
I refreshed and now I can see it.
Now you
I'm
can
gonna
see it?
roll
Okay.
I'm gonna roll their defense, or at least try. See how
Okay.
this dice roller is working. Getting the spinning block as well. All right.
Uh-oh.
We'll just take a break because we're nearly at the top of the hour, and I'll try and work out a dice roller alternative. Wow, they've rolled a 3
Okay.
with a
So-
+0. Do you want to use any aspects at the moment? They're succeeding by 2.
So if I were to match them, I would get a boost. Is that it?
That's right.
You rolled a -3 and they rolled a +3.
I know it sucks.
You would really think that Dr. C
Or
could
I
outsmart a
could
dog.
I could use a point to roll.
You could. The luck is
Yeah.
on your side.
That's right.
All right, let me see if I have any aspects that I can use here. I can make a case for an iron fist and a velvet glove
Oh,
here. Mice are velvet glovey. All right, I'm gonna give it a shot with another roll. Let's go. Mice purchase.
shot. With your best shot.
Oh, I see. Here we go.
What'd you get?
It's a spinning little block.
I think
Okay.
you're going to need to refresh it.
Okay, so I will refresh and see what happens. Did it go?
Let's see. I'm not seeing it, but
Oh, I am seeing it. I got a -2. It is better than a -3. And what was their roll?
this is a 3.
Okay.
It's been another to beat.
I can spend another to beat, but I don't know that I have another. Or no, are there any aspects on the
There's
table?
quite a lot. I mean, including your research, right? Which would make sense.
Oh yeah, their weakness. Why don't I use that? And that'll give me a hit.
All right. So tell us how you like. What does this look like? Because it will take out one of the hounds.
Oh, it
what does
will,
it?
okay.
What does it look like? What do you actually do?
I've been having chats with the mice. This is a flashback to preparations. I've been having chats with the mice in case this works out, and I think the mice, since they all have a little bit of the outside devil in them, they feel naturally protective of the princess, and so they're going to all swarm out around the feet of the hounds and freak the hounds out on my
Amazing.
signal. On my signal.
And one of the hounds just yelps and flees. The other one visibly in some terror, but one of them is just gone. Who will you pass? So I'll ask you who you pass the initiative to, but then we'll take a break.
I'll pass it to
Bad guy.
say
Bad
again?
guy. Bad guy.
To the bad guy. Chimney.
The chimney. All right, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and continue the story from there. Sweet. All right, everyone's back. Are we good to continue? So you'll see in the chat, I set up a new dice roller. I don't know if this one is actually going to work better than the one we were using before, but fingers crossed. So it is the chimney's turn. The chimney is going to come for Dr. C, I think. It belches the purple smoke in particular that clouds and pools around your head, and it smells like, I don't know, childhood shame and regret, and it hurts. So he's going to try and create an advantage using the purple smoke, and I'm going to roll to create an advantage, but you can defend using will. So sorry, I just have to build my dice thing again. Oh, that's a 6 to create an advantage. Dr. C. You're muted.
I said, what?
The chimney hits hard.
The chimney hits hard. Why did I pass it to them?
Huh.
And okay.
All right, so that's
I
a
guess-
success with style for the chimney to create an advantage. They'll get 2 free invokes on the aspect, or are you interested in using a fate point here, or one of the free invokes?
If I did that, then they would just get 1 advantage, so it's 1 per one. I'll leave the ones that are on the table for other people to use. Yeah, that's fine. So I will let it stand.
All right, so I'm going to just call the aspect agonizing pain. So it doesn't deal stress, but it's definitely hurt you fictionally.
Okay.
And let's see, the chimney will pass the initiative to Bear.
All right. I think we should be focusing our efforts, and the Master of Hounds and the Hounds just both set up advantages, which means
So far in this round, everyone has just set up advantages on the other side except for the pig.
got it. Stupid pig. Tore off your own legs, stupid pig, weird little guy. Okay. And yeah, can I ask where the princess is at? Is she just around with us in armor, or is she hidden? Which
Well, I mean, you can fill that in for me. I was imagining that she was there ready to do battle with the rest of you.
I think she is. I think there's just a few other soldiers there so that you can't tell exactly who's who, maybe, if she's got a helmet on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
the other
intact.
Yeah, the other soldiers just don't appear in the initiative because we don't care what happens to them. I think they're fighting little side battles with the lesser wild hunt of no importance.
Yes, unless we invoke them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna come after. So Maeve has been set upon by the pig, and Dr. C has been set upon by the chimney. Okay, I'm gonna protect my princess. I'm gonna come after the chimney and try to get some distance and come in with maybe knock some of those limbs off. So I'll fight. Come on, dice roller. No, I am gonna focus our efforts here. I think I was on the prize. I think we want to bring down the Master of the Hounds. So I'm gonna come hurtling across the battlefield and go for a big tackle.
All right.
Spinning cube, baby. I think it's the whole website just having the servers probably having some struggles. I have real fate dice.
Yeah. Does anyone have a suggestion on another app we could use that would let us roll fate dice? Lol.
We can use roll for your party.
Oh yeah.
Let me pull that up.
Thanks.
paste. There you go.
Thank you. Surely Divine Muskrat is an amazing room name.
Yes. Now, the only difference with this one is it will sometimes take the last die a second to resolve. And so you'd be sitting there for an extra second going, and then it'll land.
Sounds exhilarating.
Exhilarating is a word for it.
All right. For modifier 4 for DF. Let's see. Color green. Submit. So it's a 0 plus 4. So I've rolled a 4.
Right. I'm going to roll defense for the Master of Hounds.
Pretty good. Let me move my dice.
Those are
that's
my
what's
yellow
happening.
dice. I'm moving them over off to the side. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. I don't like how it deselects one.
All right. That is what? -2 plus 4 is 2.
A 2 to my 4.
So I think the Master of Hounds, no. Yeah, we'll spend a fate point to invoke all their own aspect, all too eager. Oh, sorry, hitting the wrong thing. They're just too happy that you've dived into them like this. She's just grinning ear to ear as you crash down at her. What do you do?
I would like to invoke pit traps.
Nice.
So to counter the all too eager, I think I tackle and dive over her, and I get up, and she she's all slavering and crazy and comes at me, and I think I just notice a trap, and I leap backwards, and she dives for me and falls into the trap.
All right. So that means that you're doing 2 shifts of harm. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool.
So I guess that's a free invoke. Can I also invoke another and do 4 shifts?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I guess I could just leave the free, but no, we might as well pile on right now. How about I invoke flammable substances and I throw a match into the pit and it goes up with flames.
So that'll cost you a fate point, but that works.
Yep, I would like to spend a fate point.
All right, she's going to have to take her mild consequence then. So she's going to gain the aspect burnt, and that's going to have a free invoke on it. So you can't use that on this turn, but it's there for you. Or for anyone who wants to use it against the Master of Hounds. Is that enough for you? You've incinerated her in the bottom of this pit trap, but she's clinging to, she's holding on. She's looking at you with rage.
Well,
going to pass the initiative or
just spend another?
Good.
Good. I will. Who's left? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll spend another. There's no. I feel like we should pile on.
Yeah, all right. Well, tell us what aspect it is and tell us what it looks like when you take her out, because that will take her out.
I'm gonna pass to Odin.
All right, but which aspect did you use to take out the?
I think I can't. I don't have it one immediately that comes to me, and it feels narratively dissatisfying.
Okay.
Is this like the Huntsmaster kind of? You know what I'm saying?
All right. So the Master of Hounds is just barely holding on. Nice.
Someone tell me if I'm being foolish.
No, that's good.
You could finish her off.
Power gaming.
Burnt and
Finish her off.
Burnt. You have
Bear,
on burnt.
Bear, this is what you have fought for.
Killer.
You're right. You're right.
But I'm also the person who mistakenly killed a hero last time.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't go so far as to say the huntsman was the hero.
Right, but we did. I killed maybe a neutral figure.
Okay. Then I would like to invoke Faerie Pokes the Bear and spend another fate point.
Nice. That's awesome.
And maybe you holler that at me. You see me kind of like hesitating, and then I dive into the burning pit and
Oh God.
and just like snap her spine, I think. Well, she's wearing a corseted chainmail, so maybe I just like pull the head from the body.
Okay. The surviving hound will like howl balefully. And I think that like as you take out the master of hounds, we get this like little montage. We see some battle scenes, and we see that as you start to take the lead, the momentum shifts in this battle. So does it shift in the war that rages across the country. And then, well, you're still going to pass the initiative to Odin here.
Yes.
All right. Well, now that you're in a burning pit, Odin will certainly come for you. Wailing sadly, and just attack, like leap down on top of you right there in the flames with you and start beating on you with huge fists, caked in blood and gore. And all right, I'm gonna roll these dice again. Okay, so that is what? Sorry, I'm so slow to try and count these dice now. So that's -2. Is that right? Anyone on those blue dice?
I see -2 total.
-2
with no modifiers.
With +5 to the roll, so that is a 3 total.
Damn, those are big fists.
They sure are. Bear, go ahead and roll to defend.
Okay, I'm gonna exhibit the drunkard's stagger here. It doesn't do anything immediately, but it'll give me a nice counterattack if I am able to successfully defend. So I'm gonna defend with athletics. 2 to 4. Okay, so I have rolled a -1 +4, which is a 3.
All right, so that's a tie. I think Odin will take a tie, just the boost. Are you okay with that, or do you want to use an aspect to get it to an outright success?
I will leave the boost. It's fine.
All right.
Does that count as me succeeding in a defensive athletics roll?
No.
Okay, then I want to, and succeed with style is 3 or more over.
That's right.
Okay.
Does that mean that you are going to use an aspect?
Yeah, so I've spent that pit trap free invoke. Yeah, I'm just gonna use my high concept, I think. Rebel captain, and at first I'm dipping and ducking and dodging, and then I start to pull some army maneuvers. So I'll go up to a 5 and spend a fate point.
Nice. And do you want to tell us about the stunt that you mentioned? Like, what's that going to do?
Yeah, so when you succeed in a defensive athletics roll using this technique, you gain +1 on your next attack against the opponent who tried to hit you. If you succeed with style, gain +2.
Nice. All right, so I guess it's the princess's turn. She, I think she wants to take out Odin as well. So she's going to try and stab down with her big sword into the flaming pit where the two of you are fighting. She's not a great fighter. but let's see how she goes. All right, so she rolls a +1, so that's a 3 total. Odin will roll to defend. He will very easily succeed and dodge out the way of her sword. And I guess she'll pass the initiative. Actually, before we pass the initiative for the second round, can I just check in with everyone? The, the rounds take quite a long time. We're 40 minutes off from the end of this combat. Would we like to play out another round, or would we like to maybe abstract this a little more and make it more like a challenge or something like that? Like, what do people want to do? I think maybe one more round, and then we'll have to think about how to abstract the last parts of the combat. Does that sound good?
I
Sounds
like
great to
playing
me.
this out. I
Alright.
think it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Cool. Well, in that case, the princess will pass the initiative to you, Bear.
All right. Double down. I'm going for a big swing, trying to shatter stones with my fists. I'm holding my breath as weird smoke is belching into the fire, and there's acrid smoke coming out of the pit.
That sounds bad.
It does sound bad. Here goes. That is a 4. +1 is a 5.
A 5. All right. So Odin is going to roll his defense. That is a 2. And Odin defends at +4. So that's a 6 altogether.
Damn.
What do you want to do?
Beast. I'm gonna leave it there.
All right. So Odin successfully defends. And who do you pass the initiative to?
I will pass the initiative to the hounds. Hold
Alright.
on. Yeah, the hounds is
Alright.
fine.
So the remaining hound is going to attack, I think, probably Faerie. So
It has a boost against me.
yeah, and it has
Mm.
has an aspect to use as well. Oh, and it's rolled a total of wait, no, that's 0. It is confusing how the dice resolve slowly, so I keep thinking that it's different than what it is. So they roll what, a 0. They attack at +4. So their base roll is 4. Do you want to roll to defend?
I'm going to roll to defend. Yeah, I hate that. So that's a 0. Gives me a 4.
Okay, so that's a tie. They're going to spend all of the free invokes that they have, including their boost. So the 2 on the hounds are biting, and the 1 on the hounds are close, and that takes them up to 6 shifts of success.
Damn. 2 free
6
invokes.
shifts of success.
It should have passed
Uh,
around.
I will spend 1 fate point for Shield Maiden to essentially get my armor in the way to take that down to 4 stress.
Okay, look, I have some bad news about that, because they have a stunt that lets them deal extra damage on a hit when they use an aspect created by the Master of Hounds.
Excellent.
So that's going to take it back to 6 shifts of harm.
Okay. So I'll take a mild and 4 stress.
All right. What do you call the mild consequence?
I think it's bite marks.
Cool. All right. The hounds will, well, the hound will pass the initiative back to you, Faerie.
Let me think here. How it is. So we've got Chimney, Pig, Odin, and Hound, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, I can do the other part on the abstract. So let's finish the Hound. Just to get that set, if we can, I will take a swing at it with fight.
Mhm.
Reroll these dice and wait for the suspense of them to resolve. So that is a +4 as it stands right now.
All right, I will roll for the hounds to defend. That is, oh, they've rolled well. That's a 7 to defend.
That is a 7 to defend. And let's see.
Because I mean, there's no more free invokes, but the hounds are still biting.
Let's see. Let's spend one on dutiful. Oh no, shield maiden. I think that's my prime aspect to get that to a -1, and then I will invoke another fate point on the pit traps as I kind of kick them back to at least kind of do a shift of harm to them.
Nice. One shift of harm.
Yep.
All right, cool. The hound yelps. Who do you pass the initiative to?
Let's do pig.
Nice. Pig. I guess we'll keep attacking Maeve. So let me roll an attack. All right, that is a 0 plus, so that's a 3 to attack Maeve. Maeve, roll to defend.
Got a 1 to defend.
All right, that'll be 2 shifts of harm. You want to take that?
Don't really have a good aspect for this.
I mean, the hounds have your scent. Like, surely you're pretty motivated right now.
All right, yeah, I'll spend a fate point on that.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so that will bring you up to a success. And the pig will pass you the initiative.
I will shoot the pig.
Nice. Well, go ahead and roll to attack.
Got a 4 total. Oh, sorry. Oh, 7 total.
Nice. I do not think the pig can beat that, but let's see how we go. All right, that is a 0. That's a +2. So you rolled a 7. That is 5 shifts of harm for the pig. Do you want to describe how you take it out?
Just riddled it with ammo. Just more and more.
All right. The chimney at this point is going to like call out, "Forget this brawling. Remember why we're here." And all eyes turn to the princess. So, Maeve, where do you pass the initiative?
I'll give it to the princess.
All right. Well, the princess is going to come for the chimney then, I think. Let's see how she goes.
Call in your soldiers, princess.
So she rolls. Let's see. That is a 3 total. I'm going to roll defense for the chimney. And the chimney defends in the same way that it had an advantage before. It defends by pumping out this billowing, excruciatingly painful smoke.
+5, right?
That is -3, but +5, so that is a 2. So the princess actually stabs him.
Could she
We
use
all
the free
cheer.
invoke, the high ground free invoke, and bring her soldiers in? No, that's, I don't know.
Well, so I'm going to let you guys decide if you want to let her use any of the free invokes, because those are really for you. But if you want her to take them, I will let you know that if she uses 2 free invokes, she can take out the chimney here.
Yes, do it. Spend them. That's why we made them.
before the storm in the high ground, maybe.
Are we all
Be a
happy
part-
with that?
Yeah.
All right.
We're all cheering her on.
So the chimney like bursts in this cloud of mixing smokes, like melting a little bit like the Wicked Witch of the West. Its robe sort of like deflating more than dying. And the chimney is taken out by the princess. I did not see that coming. And I think you see like her resplendent in, you know, that moment where she's truly become the queen in waiting and not just the princess. She will pass the initiative now. Let's see. It's either Odin or Dr. C. Well, I mean, I think you can take them out. I don't think we need to be so worried about the initiative order here. So, Dr. C, go ahead.
So Dr. C, I think Odin is the one that jumped into the pit and wailed on Bear, right?
Mhm.
Is that
no,
correct?
that's Chimney, right? And then me and the princess both.
No, that was Odin that was fighting you
okay.
down
That was Odin, the really bad, big bad. So I think when Dr. C sees that, you know, tugs on his heartstrings a bit, and he's going after Odin. So he's going to use his stunt on Odin. He knows that Odin is what does he have, the aspect of will broken by the queen or something, and he's just seen his comrades fall, the master and the chimney, and so Dr. C is going to make some kind of remark like the queen is going to be so displeased
Oh my
by your
God.
failure. Trying to demoralize him.
Attack with empathy.
All right.
You're ruthless.
Roll selected. I think this will work. Am I doing it right?
You can either choose 4 dice and reroll selected, or submit 4 new ones, 4 DFs. If you want your own set.
Do I submit? Oh, hit submit. Okay. No, there it goes.
There we go.
Wow.
Oh,
We have legendary
nice.
dice.
So what's that all together?
That's that's a 6.
All right, that's a 6. Well, I'll let Odin roll some defense. Odin has rolled a 0, has nothing to add to that. So that will be what? 6 shifts of harm.
Mental harm, yeah.
What does it look like when you take out Odin by just talking him down?
I think he just has a mental breakdown. He just the breaking of his will by the queen, the terror of the queen's wrath, and he just tosses himself back on the spikes of the pit trap to end his suffering.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. Well, it's the top of the next round. I mean, now that there's just one hound left, we might as well play this out, I think. Dr. C, do you want to take another turn or pass the initiative to someone else?
I'll pass to Faerie, who seems to be a specialist in the hounds, and is probably motivated to get one of those hounds out.
And the hounds are the only foe left?
There's one hound left. That's it.
Then I think what I do is I drive the hound before me into the center, and I'm going to create advantage. I can do that with fight. And
yeah. So I'll let the hound defend.
So I've got a 3 right now.
All right. I'll roll. I'm just gonna.
There's a reason we don't use this roller anymore.
Sorry, if someone's adjusting their dice, can you just hold on for a sec? Because it interferes if I try and roll while you're doing that. All right, that is a 0, and the hound defends at +3. So I think you have a tie. Do you want to just take a boost?
No, well, that'd be the same as the regular thing. So yeah, I will take the boost. I think the boost is driven before them.
Nice.
And I'll hand that off to the princess.
Oh, nice. Well, let's see how the princess rolls. Right, that is 3 with a boost, which maybe she won't need to use. The hounds will roll to defend. Sorry, the hound. Oh, okay. That is all right. So, like, Fadim, do you want to describe what it looks like when the princess drives that sword down through the last of her enemies?
I think it is just like it's the moment when she does that, and we're all kind of looking around like expecting more, and I think then it gets quiet, but then the soldiers and the witnesses that we have up on the cliffs will roar with a cheer. I think that just that will echo across this fairy version of Owl Mountain.
Nice.
And all the little mice get on their hind legs and they cheer
Yes.
too.
Amazing. And so I think that we have a little montage here. We see the princess traveling across Faerie in your company. All of you riding towards the capital for a final confrontation with the queen. And we see that throughout the land, the last scraps of loyalty to the queen have fallen. The words of the princess's extraordinary deeds have spread, and yours. You know, people also recognize you as heroes. You make it to the walls of the capital. There's some sort of siege, but eventually the walls fall, and the 5 of you prepare to enter the palace itself, where you'll face the final battle with the queen. And is there anything that you want to say to the princess before she goes in there?
I think after I say she was never of our world, you have been of our world and their world, and you can be the best of both of them. Just remember that when all this is over.
She looks to the she looks around.
And remember that we love you.
Dr. Faerie, you going to say something?
I just whisper into Fadim's ear, well done.
Bear, you've taught me so much about my heritage. Is there anything that you want to say to me?
Well, you've brought people to your side to fight alongside you from the future, from the past. I nod back at her other soldiers, and from the moment now, and I look around at the people kind of gathering, and the citizens of Faerie that have fallen in with her. It is on you to make the future that you want to see. Your mother has monopolized it, and I'm sorry that she robbed you of the future that you deserve. Being loved by a mother. But she has chosen a darker path and has made your life all the harder still. And you have made many hard choices. And there's a few more yet to make. And I believe you can. I clap her on the shoulder. You're a warrior now. Look at you.
She looks reflective. She says, you know, so many have died to bring us to this moment that I could not have done this without the 4 of you. And I want you at my back as I enter the throne room. But this is for me to do. And she leads you into the throne room. The queen rises from her throne, And as she walks towards the princess, she says, "Just remember that I tried to negotiate, that all this could have been avoided." And she hands the crown to the princess and vanishes. And everyone, the lords and commoner fairies who followed you in here, all look surprised and confused. But then a murmur of excitement starts to run through the crowd, and they start to cheer, "Long live the new queen." And let's finish up there for this week. So I will stop the recording. I do just want to say something, just for the benefit of anyone. I don't think we have like listeners or anything, but if anyone has been following this story, I misnumbered the count, so it will say on your feed that this is the last part of the Fate of the Fairy Queen game, but there'll be 2 more installments, and they'll probably be called Rise. Well, they were going to be called Rise of the Fairy Queen, but now I'm less sure what the last 2 segments will be called. But there'll be something if you do want to follow along. I'll just stop the recording here, and we can do some stars and wishes.